And as we welcome you back to the Two Guys Named Chris show, usually we have Lisa Lanier on the phone at this time for Lawyer Up every week. It's always a pleasure when she comes in person. It's good to see you.
I'm so happy to be here.
And I'll say this, I don't want to sound over the top here, but I just read that you have better success in the courtroom. The better looking your attorney is, the better you do. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I would agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I thought. I knew it. That's right. That's why she's so successful.
Lisa, there you go.
Listen, I don't want to come off like that creepy reporter.
Creepy, right?
Careful.
Yeah.
You have a Caitlin Clark situation
the Caitlin
here.
Clark reporter, right? Yeah.
I already have a question for Lisa about sexual harassment that just happened.
Our first caller's from Biggie.
It's still warm.
There's calls coming in from the studio. The calls are coming from inside the house.
Inside the house.
So if you have a question for Lisa Lanier, we'll certainly take it. We were just reminiscing about the time that the Pine Straw Bandits came and got me, and I had to call you from my closet with the helmet on my head.
I will never forget that.
Anyone else ever do that? Lisa?
The football helmet was on my head.
That was unique, yeah.
Do you tell that story at legal conventions?
I do, yeah. Cocktail parties
You really
all the
should.
time, yeah.
So the phone number now, if you want to ask her a question, it's free legal advice for the next 20 minutes, 866-470-2GNC. Chris is on the phone with the first one. Chris, you have a job interview question. Go ahead.
Good morning, guys. Love your show. Lisa, I'm so honored to talk to you. I love your segment every Friday.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
About a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, I was out job searching, and I've been a restaurant manager in the past, fast food industries. This was a fast food entity, so I had an interview with the owner's daughter and another gentleman from corporate office. The gentleman started the interview, asked some questions, but he looked very tired. His facial appearance, his actions, he just looked very tired. So there was a pause in the interview, and I made a comment and said, all due respect, you look a little tired today. They're overworking you. He stopped the interview right there and just stared me dead in the face for a couple of seconds. And then the owner's daughter proceeded with her portion of the interview. About 5 minutes into her interview, he stood up. He says, you look too blanking old and too blanking slow to work for us.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you say that in a job interview to somebody? You look too blanking old and too blanking slow to work for us.
Certainly, age discrimination is protected. You can't be discriminated against based on your age. But it sounds to me like, Chris, maybe you hurt his feelings a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe he was just retaliating.
Yeah,
I don't know that it does. Definitely, it's off limits, the whole age thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure that was the motivation there. I think maybe just he took offense to that comment.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
The comment that a
that's
caller
what I'm
made.
reading into.
And you
yeah.
look tired.
Yeah.
Well, you look old.
But
You look tired, so he was back at you. Like,
I guess
he's gotten
so.
tired.
So you don't think Chris has any recourse to try and say, oh, it's discrimination?
Yeah, he'd have to show that it was really his age that. And Chris, you don't sound like you're all that old.
Yeah, I know. You sound young to me,
Yeah,
Chris.
you sound pretty perky there, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Earlier this week, great story, interesting story about a woman. Oh, it's a kid who went into a school and she was in the no corn zone because a teacher, I don't know if you read this story.
I did.
She had an allergy, such a severe allergy to corn, and the girl went in with some corn chips, just like the last couple from the bus, and they found the bag in the trash, traced it back to her, and so she had to be suspended and miss the prom. But our question was, corn is so prevalent in everything we eat. Could someone say you can't work here because we have a cafeteria that's going to serve corn and you have a corn allergy? Is that okay to say to somebody or no?
So they have to make a reasonable accommodation under the ADA, and that's why they have. Apparently, this teacher has literally like a death. If he breathes corn, any little bit of residue, he will die.
Yes.
And so they've made this accommodation by creating this no corn zone around his room. I think it would be really up to him if he wanted to take a job where there was a proximity to a cafeteria and take on that risk.
Right.
But this poor kid, I feel bad for the girl.
I did too.
Somebody handed her a bag of Takis
Yes.
on the bus. And I don't even know if a kid thinks it through that this has corn in it. She was saying there's a picture of a corn cob in the hallway.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't think it computed for her.
I agree.
I feel bad for her. I think they ought to reverse that. And she has a due process right in not being suspended and being able to go to school. So she actually has some legal recourse, and her parents are taking it to court.
I think they should. I agree. I thought that was...
And after we discussed it, we started getting deluged with information. Corn is in everything.
Everything.
It's in
Yeah.
gasoline.
That's
it's in
tough.
sodas.
Yeah,
That is
it's a
tough.
terrible allergy.
Donald, you have a question for Lisa Lanier. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning, Lisa. Real quick question. I see these dump trucks all the time that say, keep 200 feet back, not responsible for broken windshield. if something pops out of their bed and cracks my windshield, do I have a case?
Good question.
That's,
Yeah,
that's a great question.
Yeah.
So if it's just a pebble or something which is what they're really talking about with that sign, then no, you really wouldn't. They would refuse. They would just say, you don't know for sure if it came off that truck versus it was on the road and the tire kicked it up or whatever. But where you do have recourse, and I've had some horrible personal injury cases where one, for example, a brick flew off of a truck because it was not a properly secured load.
Yeah.
And it hit 70 miles an hour on Interstate 40.
Yeah.
It went through a lady's windshield. It left her brain dead.
Oh,
I mean, it
goodness.
was terrible.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. Coolers, toolboxes and stuff. If something is improperly secured, that's different. That's negligent. But where it's just, they don't really have control over, they can't get every single little pebble off the back of the dump truck.
That makes sense. Thank you. Great question, Donald. I like that. Let's go to Dave, who has a question about auto sales for Lisa Lanier. Dave, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. I went 6 months ago and tried to buy a new vehicle through a dealership in South Carolina where I live. I didn't like the way they were dealing on the first vehicle, so I just left them, just cut it off, canceled it, didn't want to do anything. Went to another dealership and got approved right at that moment, bought the vehicle, picked it up within 2 days. And then within during a month after I bought the new one, I started getting these denial of credit from these other finance companies saying I didn't have enough credit, which I didn't, but on the truck that I did buy, they didn't have a problem with it. But I started getting all these denial letters, and then it drove my credit score down from a 780 to a 660. So is that illegal for them to shotgun? I was told it was called shotgunning your credit when they do that.
All right.
So the first car dealership put it on your credit that you had reneged or defaulted or something of that nature?
Yeah, they said I didn't have enough credit.
Okay,
Gotcha.
all right, yeah. So they say it and spread it around, right?
Yeah, and first little caveat is I'm not licensed in South Carolina, but I think just like in North Carolina, you can write to the credit bureau, and they will often correct something that's on your credit report. And people think it's this big mysterious mothership out there that you can communicate with, but you really can. And you can even communicate with them by phone, but it's better to do it in writing.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you to do that. I don't necessarily think it's something you'd want to go hire a lawyer for, but I think if you maybe call up and find out who to send a letter to and ask, and a lot of times they will actually remove things. They do take action, investigate, and that sort of thing.
Wow, because you're right. You think, well, that'll never happen. Too much red tape to cut through there.
Yeah.
We had an emailer, too. This was an interesting question to me. More calls are coming in. 866-470-2GNC is the phone number. But the emailer said he rented a home on VRBO, and their advertising is, they lead with, you'll never have to share a home with anybody else. So they're going to Asheville for the weekend. And they get there, and it turns out they've rented only the basement, and the people who own the home are upstairs. So they didn't feel comfortable with that because of the advertising. They're like, this is false advertising. So they say, well, we're going to leave and go get a hotel room for the night. Then they were going to write a bad review on the VRBO website, and they were stopped from doing that because they had not technically stayed at the home. So they couldn't write a bad review, and they're out $1,000. Surely they have some legal recourse to get that $1,000 back. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I would think so. It's one of those situations, though, is it worth, is because are they going to hire an attorney and pay them, $500 an hour to get $1,000? Probably not.
That stinks, though. That's why it's too bad, because they're out $1,000 and it's just one of those too bad moments.
Yeah, they could, if it happened in North Carolina, I assume it did. You said Asheville, right? So
right.
and I assume they're from North Carolina.
Yeah.
The Attorney General in North Carolina has a consumer protection division, and they actually do look into things. So if you file a formal complaint with them, then they will get involved. They will contact the company. And a lot of times they'll try to work it out, and sometimes they'll get your money back.
All right, now you're talking.
Let the Attorney General do.
Thank you, Mark.
He's running for governor. He might do it.
Oh yeah, he might. He might
That's
actually
right.
do something here.
That's right.
Mark, you have a question about the city sewer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I live in a small town in Davidson County. Been living there renting 21 years. Just found out at the end of last year I've been on the septic tank, and I've been paying city sewer the whole time. Ooh. And they're telling me they can only give me 3 years of my money back.
You've been paying city sewer the whole time, even though you were on a septic tank.
And you weren't connected to it.
And you didn't realize this.
Yeah, I didn't know it until last year. The septic tank started overflowing in the backyard, and my landlord had to get the house hooked up to the city sewer.
What's that smell?
No.
Crapper's full. We know
Wow.
that.
Yes,
from the,
it is.
that's Christmas vacation
Wow.
stuff, right? My God.
That's crazy.
What is that horrible that smell is our crap. Okay.
Meet the parents.
But yeah.
That's crazy. Was the landlord just not wanting to spend the money to connect to the city sewer, or was there a?
I don't know, but he did it. He did it at the end of last year after all that happened. But
Because it was probably
I
a
don't-
toss-up between
I don't really
replacing
know
your
if he-
septic and
yeah,
doing
and
that.
doing that. But he would get only 3 years back, not
Yeah.
more than that. Is that the law?
I guess they're basing that probably on the statute of limitations. I would guess.
that's
I mean,
right.
but that's pretty lousy. It seems like they could waive that.
They could if they
yeah,
wanted to.
If they wanted to.
Is it
yeah.
worth it for him? All those years of bills.
Yeah, that's awful.
But and is that on record somewhere exactly how much he paid monthly
Yeah, it is,
20-some
yeah.
years ago? They could come
Yeah.
back and get it.
So is that a city issue, Lisa?
yeah, but it sounds like they're saying, look,
Yeah.
you only have a 3-year right
Yeah.
to look back.
So would a lawyer be able to coax them to drop that statute of limitation?
Probably not,
Probably
yeah.
not. Oh, man. You're crap out of luck. I'm sorry,
That
Mark.
stinks.
Dang, that really does in every possible way. Anonymous, you have a question about a fall down, and you're on with Lisa Lanier. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Doing very well. Thank you.
Just a long story short here. My wife was shopping at a grocery store, and she was getting out of her SUV, stepped out into a storm drain that was missing a section out of it. And this is 3 months after she had back surgery, and she had to have 3 more back surgeries to correct falling through the storm drain.
Ooh.
So we've talked to other attorneys. We're just wondering what our recourse is here.
Now, I think I've heard. Now, basically, does the store have an obligation to make sure that storm drain is fixed? And I think that's the answer. But go ahead.
Yeah, so the owner of any premises has a duty to correct any known hazards or any hazards that reasonably should have been known. And so probably a missing grate, depending on how long it had been there, it's probably something they should have known about.
Right.
So you've probably cleared that hurdle. The problem that your wife has is causation, because, and we see this all the time. It's the number one thing in my experience that companies attack a claimant on is, well, you had all these pre-existing conditions. And the jury gets instructed that they're not to award any money for pre-existing conditions, but only to the extent that there's an aggravation or change of that condition.
Yeah.
And that's hard to prove because you already had all this problem. You had this surgery. How much of it is new? And so what tends to happen is jurors look at it like a pie, and whatever your current damages, say she had $50,000 in medical bills that they would award, they'll carve that out and say, well, let's carve out a quarter of that as new. And so it ends up that you don't get that much for those claims sometimes. But you may want to pursue it, though. Particularly if her doctor can really point to, the best thing is if he or she can point to something like on an MRI and say it's changed because of that fall.
Yeah.
That's critical, isn't it?
Critical.
The before and
Yeah.
after.
Yeah, exactly right.
And would you find, Lisa, too, that in that case, is the store responsible for the parking lot? Because often those centers are owned by other entities.
Typically, we end up making a claim against the store itself as well as the company that maintains the shopping center. And usually one of them will step up with the primary insurance.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Anonymous. I hope that works
good
out
luck.
for your
Yeah,
wife.
that's
too
terrible.
bad. Yeah, it's too bad she had the pre-existing back conditions before she stepped on the storm grate. Paula, you're talking about used cars and have a question for Lisa Lanier, our official attorney from Lanier Law Group. Go ahead, Paula.
My daughter purchased a Nissan from a Kia dealership, and 3 months later, the transmission went out. So we took it to, they wouldn't fix it. They said that they didn't honor that. My question was, is there not a lemon law in North Carolina?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, Paula, lemon laws only apply to new cars. Used cars do not at all have any rights under. In fact, it's terrible. Used cars, very much buyer beware. Unless they offer you a warranty, there's really no warranty. And this happens all the time. And the only thing that I've seen people do successfully sometimes is if you can show that, number one, they knew there was a transmission problem. Number two, they intentionally hid that from you.
Yeah.
They would have had to have, you would have had to have asked, and they would have had to have lied to you, or you would have, or they would have, if there was a transmission light on and they made it go off or something.
Right, yeah.
It would have to be fraud.
That's just bad luck, isn't it?
It's terrible, yeah, but I hear this all the time, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, lemon law only applies to brand new cars.
What's the deal on a new car? Let's say this had been a brand new car, and 3 months later, it's got a terrible transmission goes out. Do you for free get probably it's under warranty
You have
anyway.
to, but you also, like the lemon law itself, you have to go back, I think it's 4 times, and it has to be a sort sort of a major system with the car. It can't be like your cigarette lighter or
Right,
something like
yeah.
that.
I'm sorry. Does that term of that law, Lisa, last 6 months, a year for the new cars?
I think for new cars, it's something like 4 years or something.
4 years.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
That's pretty
You
good.
have to look at the
Yeah.
sticker on the
I'd have
used
to-
cars too, because sometimes there is no warranty, or sometimes it's just a 30-day.
Yeah, it's usually 30 days.
I like you referencing the cigarette lighter too. My car still has one.
Yeah.
These guys,
Right.
they're all new. They're all like, they don't even have a key. I got a
Right,
key
you
and
got
a
a
cigarette
key.
lighter. I got all that. I got a 6-disc changer in the trunk.
Oh, nice.
The windows roll down.
That's
literally.
right, literally. Cause why? 'Cause nothing enough to break. Sarah, you're talking about nursing, and a question for Lisa Lanier. Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm an ER nurse, and sometimes we have patients that come in and they want to record us while we're taking care of them. My employer has informed me that I cannot refuse to allow them to record me. Is that true?
I don't like that. That's an excellent question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And kudos to you for being an ER nurse. My mama was an ER nurse, and
Oh,
they're
yes.
lovely people.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing great work. So if it's the policy of your employer to allow them to record, then you think you have to go along with that or risk losing your job. But it's interesting. Most hospitals don't allow recording.
Yeah.
That actually really came about some years ago when OB doctors were being sued for labor and delivery problems because everybody was trying to film their
Right,
being
yeah.
born,
Yeah.
and they caught all the negligence on video.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
So it was like skewering these doctors, and so most hospitals won't allow that. So that's interesting. It's not. I don't think that's something that is coming from necessarily a legal requirement that you allow that. I think it's the hospital's policy.
So she has no, other than just breaking policy, she has no legal recourse, so you can't film me.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Sarah. We knew before about, like, when you're out in public, I know one celebrity one time didn't want somebody taking pictures or videos of her kid playing soccer, but you can do that, right, out in public. I can go video whatever I want, basically.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Sampson, who's talking about being fired and has a question about that for Lisa Lanier.
Am I on?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, I worked for the school system, our local school system, for it was close to 6 years. And we had a principal, and basically he didn't like me, and basically had people write statements, and the statements were word for word matches, and there was no proof that I actually did the things they said I did, and I was fired with no chance to defend myself or anything like that. Do I have a legal recourse?
Yeah, so, North Carolina is an employment at will state. And so for your typical private sector job, you can just be fired because the principal doesn't like you. But here, this is not a private sector job. It's a government job. And government jobs are different. And even though it's still technically an at will state, there's an added element of protection for people in government jobs where you get due process rights. And so you could require, you could hire an attorney and they would have to give you some kind of hearing or some kind of answer, some kind of ability to challenge the fact that you had all these statements that you think were trumped up against you.
So he does have an avenue, but it will cost him. He'll have to.
It will cost you,
You'll have to
and
get
it may
an
not be
attorney.
worth it. Again, yeah, exactly.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's-
we just don't work for free.
How many times you say that?
Yes.
I did write down $500 an hour. Is that
So-
true?
Yeah, I didn't want to
Say
say
that,
anything
I
out
don't say
loud
that
about
either.
that, but I had no idea.
Did you hear that?
Yeah,
Big
that's
500.
right. 500 an hour. Yeah, that's right. God, it's so great. We're done.
I hate the
We're
time
done.
is up.
We're done.
I know,
The time is up.
crazy.
It goes so quickly.
It goes so quickly.
Bigger and better waiting for you. But thank you so much for being on with us today. Lisa Lanier, our official
You're the
attorney,
best,
the
the best.
Two Guys Named Chris show. And fantastic to have you in here. I hate we have to say goodbye.